In today's video we are going over some of the most common Star Wars misspellings. And hopefully, if you have made these mistakes before, after this video you won't make them again. First we have Ahsoka, and this one I have seen spelled wrong so many times. Usually it's spelled like Ashoka, but I've also seen Ahsoka and Ahsoka without the H. Yes, the correct way to spell it is A-H-S-O-K-A. And if you want to avoid making this spelling mistake, I think you just have to think in your head like Ahsoka. That's, pretty much how I remember it. Next up we have Anakin. The most common way I see it misspelled is Anakin. So instead of an I, there's an A at the end. I've also seen Anakin with the second A replaced with an I, and then also Anakin with two N's and an I instead of an A. But I feel like this one should be pretty easy to remember since it's pretty much spelled how it's pronounced. And then we have the word prequel. I have seen this one spelled wrong a lot of times also, and it is usually spelled prequel with an A instead of an E. And then we have the word Mandalorian. In more recent years I have seen this one spelled Mandalorian instead of Mandalorian. And this one might not be as much of a misspelling, that is people thinking that they are called Mandalorians and not Mandalorians. And I suppose this comes from the series The Mandalorian and Mando. And then we have the word canon. And this one I very often see spelled with two N's, and I find it to be kind of funny because I mean it's not a canon. It's a canon. Yeah, you get what I mean. And then we have one that is kind of a difficult one to spell, which is Grievous. And I've seen this one spelled like Gravus. But I mean, it's a word and there is a correct spelling for this word, so yeah. But admittedly, it's a bit of a difficult one. And then we have the movie Rogue One. People spell it like it's said, so rogue, but it's spelled rogue. And I don't really know if there's any way you can remember how to spell it. But I mean, people will know what you mean if you spell rogue, but it's wrong. And then we have one that I feel like if you are a bit more of a Star Wars fan, you won't make this mistake. But Jabba the Hutt I have seen spelled with just one B, and I don't know, it just looks funny. Jabba the Hutt. I suppose if you've never seen his name spelled out, then you can't know if it's spelled with two B's or one. And another similar one is Boba Fett. I have seen his name also spelled with two B's, like Boba Fett. But these two, the Jabba and Boba ones, I feel like ones that are pretty common with people who are not that into Star Wars. And then we have one that is kind of in a similar vein of the Anakin one, where instead of spelling Padme, people spell Padme with an A. Right now I realize that it does make sense why people make this mistake. In English, you do pronounce the letter A like the letter A. Yeah, okay, this doesn't make sense if you only speak one language, but like in, for example, Swedish, the letter E you would pronounce E, and the letter A you would pronounce A. So to me this one doesn't make sense because I would read it Padma, but I guess if you read it in English it does say Padme. And when you do spell Padme like it's actually spelled, if you read it in English it would be Padme, I guess. And then we have a planet from Rogue One called Jeddah, and this one for some reason people just almost always get wrong. It's spelled with an H and not two D's. But again, when you just say the word Jeddah, it makes sense that you would think that it's spelled like with two D's. But yeah, it is not. It is spelled with an H. And then the final one, and this is one that I also still sometimes struggle with, and it is Tatooine. Or you spell it with one T and two O's, but you can very often find it misspelled. It's usually with two T's and two O's, or one T and one O, or even two T's and one O. But I mean, this one is sort of tricky. You just have to remember it, I guess. But yeah, I do find myself sometimes still like looking it up just to make sure. These are the ones that I've come across the most, but let me know if you have any other common misspellings that I didn't mention here. But that was it for today, and I think you would really enjoy watching this video right here.